Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I'm going to talk about California's capital. I'm going to talk about the rap beefs and the street politics going on between two sections in Sacramento. Now with YouTube guidelines, they forced me to redo this episode, but I'm going to give you an even longer and a more of an updated version. So let's get into it. Now with bigger regions like LA and the Bay, Sac didn't get much shine like those two, but within the last 5 to 10 years, Sac's been getting a lot of light shined on the city, with the likes of rappers like Briss, D Steez, CML, aka Lavish D, Shooter Gang Coney, Mozzy, and a few others. Before I can go into current events and things going on right now, I gotta take a step back and mention how all the gangbanging started in Sac. Back in the 80s, Sac was a fast growing city and a fast growing market for all the Crips and Bloods in LA and Southern California. Crips and Bloods would build relationships with many different communities all throughout Sac, bringing the influence and drugs in many areas. During the crack epidemic, this led to many Bloods, Pirus, and Crip gangs starting all over Sacramento. Sacramento has gang activity in almost every side of Sacramento, including West Sac, East Sac, North Sac, and South Sac, and Oak Park, which would be considered its own area, which they would call the Mids or just the P. But it's too much to cover from every side of Sac, so I'm gonna just stick to Oak Park and their war with several South Sac gangs. South Sac is a big region in Sacramento, with many different Blood, Piru, and Crip gangs. With South Sac being so dangerous, it would gain the name Iraq. Some of the original gangs in South Sac would be hoods like Fruit Ridge Bloods, the Detroit Bloods, the Medivie Bloods, the Valley High Pirus, Creek Mob, and G Parkway. In the early 2000s, when Mac Dre had the Thiz movement popping, he was aligned with a group from G Parkway called Something Terrible. They were even featured in some of Mac Dre's songs. They were making noise in the local rap scene at the time, but they were also heavy in the streets. South Sac has many Blood gangs, but they also have a few Crip gangs, like the Valley High Gangsta Crips, TCG, and the most known, the Garden Block Crips, which consist of different blocks like 29th Street, 24th Street, and 21st Street. Some of the rappers who put Sac on the map in the 90s like X-Rated, Brother Lynch, and Sebo all come from Garden Block. The Garden Block Crips would be considered the biggest Crip gang in Sacramento, and also the most notable. Compared to the 80s and 90s, the gang landscape in the mid-2000s changed a lot. Several new cliques were formed like Stars, 30s, and Gutter, and they would start to make their name in the streets, and the gang politics on South Sac would change a lot. Back in the day, South Sac gangs were going to war with each other, but with all South Sac gangs already having mutual rivals like Oak Park, most gangs would click up or cease fire and focus on Oak Park and push the Iraq movement. Now the Oak Park Bloods, they have always been one of the biggest gangs in Sac and one of the deadliest, and have been making noise since the 80s. With being one of the biggest gangs in the city, they will bump heads with a lot of gangs throughout the city, like basically every gang in South Sac and the Heights, which is a Blood gang and the biggest gang in North Sac. And recently, an East Sacramento clique called Air It Out, that's from a street called West Lomond in East Sacramento. Politics in Sac get messy. If you cool with a certain area, you automatically become rivals to their enemies. Oak Park is cool with the Manners, which is a Blood gang in North Sac. They are rivals to the Heights. The Heights are allies to some South Sac gangs. Oak Park has allies in East Sac, as of recently with Mozzy artist Sally Rue coming from Lincoln Village, building that relationship between Oak Park and East Sac, making East Sac hoods Lincoln Village and White Rock allies of Oak Park. But with those two East gangs being rivals of Air It Out, this will make Oak Park become rivals of them as well. Some of Oak Park's most known streets are 4th, 33rd, and 12th among many others. The young generation of Oak Park will start to make cliques and align themselves to other subsets. Early 2000s, many Oak Park members would align themselves to cliques like Fab and Zilla. These would later produce other crews in later years like Mozzy, Shooter Gang, BOE, and Murder Gang, and several more. Just off this, you can see Oak Park has a big hood, but even with that, these crews have a lot of internal beef within their own hood, but that can be discussed in a later episode. Now I done gave you a breakdown of both areas. Now let me give you a breakdown of the rap beef going on between these two sides. Now over 10 years ago, dissing dead ops became a big thing all throughout the world, and music played a big part of it. And many rappers will become ruthless with their dissing, and Sac would be no different. By 2013, the war between South Sac gangs and Oak Park was all over record. In 2013, Lick, who was from Medivie and affiliated with several other gangs in South Sac. He is also the little homie of CML. Lick would drop a diss song. This song was such a big deal because he shot some of the scenes in Oak Park at a known Oak Park store called Oak Park Market. He even dissed Mozzy in the song, also Oak Park. He even had clips of an Oak Park member getting beat up in the video. Mozzy, when he went by the name Little Tim, would drop his own diss track with another Oak Park member named Poppy. they dropped a song called Headshots. They would pull up to a store in Meadowview called the Meadowview Market. They would even go to Mac Road, which is an area many gang members from South Sac be at. Mac Road is called the Jack, after a man named Jack would be killed on that same street. Jack would be killed by an Oak Park member, and he would later be dissed by several Oak Park rappers in several songs. Mozzy would even drop another song in 2013 called The Truth. He would go at everybody. The song was called The Truth, and his first lyrics were dissing Jack and Mac Road. He dissed 30 Gang, Lick, and even Lick Baby Mama. Mozzy will also diss Garden Block Crip Stunner Blue and Stunner Nook. Stunner Nook will be later killed on July 4th, 2016. It was widely believed he would be killed by an Oak Park member. He was also killed in front of his kids. Mozzy will also diss other dead people like D Weez and Tiny Wee. Oak Park rapper Little Nick is in prison for the murder of Tiny Wee, even though many people would say he didn't actually do the killing. Mozzy would even go at CML, calling him a snitch. After his big homie Snubs was in prison, it was said that CML was jumped for his bins, and a police report was made. But CML snitching has never been proven true. But less than 24 hours after Mozzy dropped The Truth, his friend Zilla Zoe, who was in the Truth video, will be killed, leading to him being dissed in several songs by South Sac rappers. By this time, CML was also creating his own diss tracks, and he was heavy in the streets. He was even beefing with people outside of Sac, like Oakland rap crew Livewire, which features people like Little Blood, Jay Stalin, and Filthy Rich, who CML was going at it hard with at the time. Mozzy and Filthy Rich will later click up and make a diss song towards CML called Being Honest. 50 will also go at DB the General, which made CML and DB respond back in their own song. In the song Being Honest, Mozzy would diss several dead people, and would even diss CML's little cousin Jage, who was 15 years old and got killed on Mac Road in 2013. From 2007 to 2017, over 100 teenagers were killed in Sacramento. Just after Mozzy dropped Being Honest, CML and his crew caught an Oak Park member affiliated with Mozzy at Arden Mall named Kill Bill. CML recorded, and his homies jumped Kill Bill. CML will post it on his YouTube channel and caption it, Being Honest Response. This will lead to multiple shootings on both sides, and CML and most of his homies who were involved will get jail time for this. While CML was in jail, Mozzy's career began to rise more and more, but with more fame he gained, the less he name dropped. But he always did subs like calling CML Wink Wink or Winky Doodle. At a point, CML was making skits, trying to get famous I guess. In the skits, he called himself Wink Wink, but with Mozzy still dissing him while he was behind bars, CML wouldn't go for this. He dropped his own classic series of diss songs. One of the first songs was called Where's Waldo. In the song, he would bring up Mozzy family member Mozzy and how he got shot up. He would say Mozzy was a good actor and not a real gangster. With Mozzy branching off and moving out of Sac and CML being in prison, the streets of Sac were still on fire and bodies were still dropping on both sides. With most of this happening, Lick was in jail for years. In 2016, Lick would get out of jail. He was known for doing this thing in the streets, from fighting and putting in work. Once being released, Lick would drop several diss songs like Double Back on him, which he would go straight at Maserati Rick. Maserati Rick is an affiliate of Oak Park and is a part of Zilla. Lick will also diss Mozzy in the second song. In the second diss called No Air, Lick will refer to Mozzy as a liar, stating he never caught a body. Maserati Rick will respond back with a diss to Lick, calling him a liar and a pedo, and he also questioned his gangster and his affiliations. No Air video will be used against Lick, and the police will start to investigate him. He would later be arrested, and he would be arrested with a few guns. With him having 2 strikes, this will be his third. He will receive 30 years to life for this. By 2017, Mozzy would start to become known in many markets and start doing interviews, and he would be asked about Sac music scene and past Sac artists. Mozzy basically crowned himself Sacramento King and said the Sac pioneers like Brother Lynch and Sebo wasn't doing nothing for Sac, and they never did what he did. Sebo and Brother Lynch would feel away about this. Even though Brother Lynch and Sebo came from rival hoods than Mozzy, they still felt Mozzy should have gave them that credit and respect. Sebo would quickly respond and call Mozzy a goofy and said he wanted a fade. Next thing you know, Mozzy and Sebo would engage in a war of words on Instagram. Mozzy would do a freestyle dissing Sebo, and shortly after, he did a diss song called New Era King, where he dissed Brother Lynch, Sebo, and Garden Block, and even dissed their dead homies. Mozzy even questioned Sebo's credibility in the streets, and even dissed CML more. 2 weeks after Mozzy's diss song was released, Sebo would respond in his own diss song called Body for Body. He would say a lot of things about Mozzy, and let's just say, the summer of 2017 in Sac was heating up. Just a week later after that, Sebo had a video shoot in South Sac at a park. and many Bloods and Crips from South Sac were in attendance, including CML, who was just recently released from prison. Unfortunately, the video shoot would be shot up, leaving 4 shot, and left a 49-year-old man dead. But this will all later come back to Mozzy.
The family of that shooting victim from this weekend's shooting was holding a vigil.
49-year-old father Ernie Cadeno was killed when shots rang out Sunday afternoon at a popular Sacramento neighborhood park.
He was working hard. He did what he could for his daughter, and his girlfriend and baby to come.
Cadeno was spending the day at Meadowview Park while his friend Sibo, a well-known Sacramento rapper, was filming a music video. The artist had announced his video shoot on Instagram, writing, "Let's go Sacktown, OGs will be outside."
It's a sad, senseless shooting that shouldn't have happened.
As families...
The shooters were later arrested, and they were from Oak Park or Oak Park affiliates. These dudes were straight snitching. Q Mozzy, who was in on the shooting, told the police that Mozzy gave him the guns to do the shooting, and he would even blame the shooting on other people involved. He would just say he was a scared passenger. Police would bring up the picture he posted on Instagram with Mozzy the same day as the shooting. Months later, CML dropped a song called Clickin' Here. It had several rappers on it, and CML would refer to Mozzy as Waldo and said he heard Mozzy put money on his head, but he was ready for it. He also did several Oak Park members alive and deceased ones. In 2019, incarcerated Oak Park rapper Lil Nick dropped a song called Snitch Gang that called out snitches from his own hood to his enemies. He would even diss Lick in a song and called him a pedo. Lick, who was also in jail, would respond back to Lil Nick's diss with his own diss. Lick mentioned shooting up Oak Park and how he was beating up Oak Park members in jail. Lick would mention how Lil Nick was in jail for a shooting he didn't even commit, and Lick would call several Oak Park members snitches, and he would also diss several dead Oak Park members. With the names I mentioned before being rappers known in Sacramento, many other rappers from both sides would rise, and the 2 names that became big on both sides would be Briss and Uzi Marcus. Briss is from Fruit Ridge in South Sac. Uzi Marcus is from 36th Street, which is mainly rep by Mexicans, but he claims Oak Park, with both hoods being aligned together. In Sac and NorCal, it's a lot different in most places. You can often see polys, Asians, Mexicans, and black people claim the same areas, but different gangs, but all still being cool. Whereas in LA, that might be a problem in certain areas. Uzi Marcus and Briss are both Bloods, but affiliate heavy with Nortes. That's why you see a lot of Mexicans in their videos. Even though Fruit Ridge is in South Sac, they didn't always be for Oak Park, with them having a lot of family ties together and being the closest South Sac hood to Oak Park. Fruit Ridge was always neutral in the war, but with the new generation picking sides, with Briss linking up with Meadowview rapper G-Man, and Oak Park aligning himself with Fruit Ridge rivals, this will start the war. Briss and G-Man would drop a mixtape called 1042 that would take over the summer of 2019. Even Briss rival Uzi Marcus' baby mama would be slapping the mixtape and call Briss the hottest in the city. Like, damn, don't your baby daddy rap too? Briss would even make fun of her and post her on his IG page. Uzi Marcus wasn't feeling this and felt some type of way, cause soon after, he dropped a diss song called 42K, dissing Briss, Fruit Ridge, Meadowview, and diss a few dead Fruit Ridge members. Then about a week later, Briss dropped a song called Spark the Fuse. He didn't name drop, but he did make references and was making hand signs dissing his enemies. Briss will later get locked up, but once getting out, his career would start to blow up. But just when he was taking off, he was killed on July 1st, 2020, after he was chased down and shot. When Briss died, Oak Park rappers Uzi Marcus, 3G, Fleecy, and VJ were on Instagram Live dancing, laughing, and playing his music mocking him. CML's brother Drada will drop a song called Bank, taking shots at Uzi Marcus and Briss's killer. A man was arrested for killing Briss just 2 weeks after the song was released. Uzi Marcus' baby mama Jalise will drop a diss on the Briss after his death. She would shoot some scenes in Meadowview and would even go to Briss' death site. Worst part about this, she used to mess with Briss before Uzi Marcus. Several months later, CML will release a song called Tricky Dance Moves, paying homage to Briss and even diss Uzi Marcus. Uzi Marcus would respond in a song called Last to Diss Me in a Box, where he would go after CML and diss Briss as well. He would even do an interview about them and talk about the situation with their beef.
I feel you. Okay, but I think I did get it out of order. So did the Lavish thing pop off because you were beefing with Briss early on?
I don't know. That's something you always have to ask a person that, because he, you know what I'm saying, he might have initiated my name, but I guess it's some type of reason for him to try to say something. I don't know.
Definitely. Okay, but so that happened, and obviously Uzi Marcus then did the No Jumper interview right after. Had to say about you.
Yeah, I didn't watch that, but you know, it is what it is. I know one thing I know, bro, that my ops gonna say anything about me, man. 'Cause ain't nothing.
At this time, CML and Snubs from Oak Park will be at a war of words after Snubs was just released from jail. CML will make fun of him, calling him a bum and a drug addict, and expose pictures of Snubs sleeping on the couch. Snubs then responded by saying he would knock CML out or anybody with him. This will all lead to some of the most disrespectful disses in Sac history. CML will drop Where's Waddle 2. In the song, he went straight at Mozzy. He would mention how Zilla Zoe died right after Mozzy made a diss song, and he would call Snubs a snitch. Let's just say after this, he went down a list of dissing dead ops and living ones.
Basically, that Mozzy was just not going to respond to you, etc. And I guess that's kind of been his position recently, is that he hasn't been...
Man, scared to reply to me, bro. That's what it is. Ain't nothing else, bro. You scared of me, bro. He's scared of me.
You think he just doesn't want to...
He's scared of me.
Start it up again?
He's scared of me.
Around the same time, 3G and Snubs dropped Dead Ops. They dissed Briss and several other dead members from various Southside gangs. Snubs would take more shots at Briss on a song called Need Blammy over Briss's Need Hammy song. More disses would fly on both sides, and Murder Gang Juju would diss Briss on a song called Panhandling K, mocking Briss's song Panhandling. Juju would even be in Briss's hood, where he shot the video in Fruit Ridge. He even would diss Heights rapper named Jody Woe, which he would later be charged for Jody Woe's murder. Shooter Gang VJ would later make a diss song called Not a Diss, which he took aim at several South Sac and North Sac rappers, and some of the rappers being Briss and CML. Oak Park rapper 3G will make a diss song called Alive Ops, dissing every enemy that's alive from all the Oak Park rivals. He will mention people like D Steez, Briss' cousin Mac J, CML, and even DB by the Bag. DB by the Bag is a rapper from South Sac, but isn't a part of a gang. But he affiliates with a lot of Southside gang members, putting him in a crossfire. The younger generation of Oak Park will be heavily involved in making diss songs as well. BOE Mumu will take aim at DB by the Bag in a song and mention how DB got his car shot up and left town. Haiti Faye will make his own diss songs called The Truth, where he would diss Southside Hood's Fruit Ridge and Meadowview, and he would even mock Briss's death. Since Briss's death, he has become one of the most dissed rappers. CML would later diss Haiti Faye in his own song called I Need That. He would call Haiti Faye a snitch, with Haiti Faye facing snitch allegations and paperwork coming out against him. Now these were a few key songs in the diss records between South Sac and Oak Park. If you want more Sac episodes, let me know in the comments. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.